Hi, here's May and welcome to this video, which is like a prequel to a series I plan to do about the art fundamentals, since I'm learning them from YouTube currently. Other than studying the fundamentals from YouTube, I also do daily exercises beforehand. In this video, I show how you can find the exercises you want to do based on what you want to draw and get better at. I'll also explain what kinds of daily exercises I've done and how helpful they were to me, so you can get some inspiration. But first, let's answer the question, why even do daily exercises? For one, it can help you with building a habit of drawing. If you struggle with consistency and drawing, this at least should get you to have created something at the end of the day. Once you're used to it, it will get easier. It helps with not having to rely on motivation to draw and instead make it a normal habit like brushing your teeth. It also leads to improvement over time, even if it's just a small exercise. Focus on challenging yourself each day. With it, you'll be able to learn every day. It's also really good to track your progress. If you look back at your old work, maybe from the past month, or you can determine what you especially struggled with, improved on, and maybe still struggle with. Next, let's go to the main question for this video. What type of exercises should you do? First, you can look at how long you want to take for your daily exercises. This depends on how much time you have and also if the exercise is the only thing you will draw on most days, or is it like a warm-up routine for your main drawings for projects or work. For me, the daily exercises I do take 15 to 30 minutes. I'd recommend not doing more than 1 hour if you're already drawing a lot of other stuff in a day, and especially if you're studying other things in art already and want to add this exercise. It's good to not overwhelm yourself, and you also shouldn't stress if you miss some days of doing this daily habit. Then you can look at how detailed you want the exercises you do to be. If your daily exercises are not something you want to post, they don't have to look polished. Don't be afraid to be very messy and rough. Especially in drawing, I find that the sketching and sometimes line art step is where I learn the most. So in my daily exercises, I try to focus on this. Since I also want to use the exercise to increase my overall speed of getting what I want to draw on paper, I try to be rather rough. Sometimes I also purposely want to use very few lines though, and this also leads me to my next topic. Determining what exact exercises you want to do. You can ask yourself, what do you want to draw the most and what do you want to improve on as an artist the most? You can view this in different ways. For one, you could focus on the subject matter like heads, hair, bodies, cats or plants, or you could focus on drawing techniques like increasing your speed, using less and more confident lines, improving your contour observation or improving your value observation. You can also combine things here. For example, let's say you want to improve on drawing hair but also using more confident lines. You can try drawing hair this way for multiple days. Maybe after 2 weeks you feel like your confident lines work for hair, but you're not sure about if it also works for heads. Then you can change up the exercise and draw heads with more confident lines. Or maybe you're happy with your confident lines but you want to learn more about shading hair. Then you can switch to focusing on values and shading while still drawing hair. I also recommend using references for your daily exercises, since this enables you to get knowledge from observing and you'll see something new each day. It's important to not make it a monotone routine. Make sure you're challenging yourself. When you feel like what you're doing for your daily exercise becomes easy, make sure to increase the or change the exercise up. You can focus on one part you're especially struggling with and move on once you've gotten better at it. In case you're doing a daily exercise while also studying parts of art separately, I recommend shifting your focus for the daily exercise to something very basic and generic you can always improve on, so you can focus more on one specific thing you're studying in your study time. For example, you're currently studying anatomy and want to study folds afterwards. Since you want to be able to draw characters as a daily exercise, for example, you could do something like gesture drawings. You can draw basic poses from reference images and make use of what you learn in your anatomy study sessions there. This is also basically what I do currently, and with this I'll go over to talking about exercises I've done and my experience with them. And beforehand, I think it's good to know that my general focus in art is on characters, including the heads, faces, hair, bodies, hands, outfits and folds. The first exercise is the one I've done for most of my life. It's observational drawing from references. I would do it daily from time to time and started around 2 years ago with this. I picked different things from Pinterest each day and drew them in my sketchbook for around 1 hour. This is good to get a variety of knowledge based on your preferences. Especially in the beginning, just drawing from references is good for your observation. However, only focusing on drawing what you see and not paying attention to fundamentals behind it slow down your overall learning progress a lot. I already talked more about this in last week's video, and now I've moved on from doing this exercise. Occasionally I'll still do this though. The second exercise I did for 30 days was blind contour drawings. This is really interesting to do if you've never drawn without looking at what you're drawing. While I can't say I improved a lot at this over time, it definitely helps with observation, since you have to focus on the direction of outlines and what you see in your reference, and then also making your hand move in the same way. It also helps with getting a sense of distance when you're moving your hand to make new lines. Additionally, it helps with line confidence, especially if you really want to improve your line confidence. I recommend just drawing from a reference using only single lines while also looking at the drawing instead though. This way of drawing leads me to the next exercise, which is free drawing heads at different angles. And what I started with here is drawing using only singular lines for the head shape and the facial features, except for the upper eyelash I'd sometimes make it thicker. While this helped with getting a sense of how I like to stylize faces and draw them more quickly, I overall don't recommend this exercise unless you've studied heads in 3D and their anatomy first. You can also hear more of my thoughts about this in this other video I made. I made a change to this exercise after the 50 days. Instead of drawing using only one line, I still draw the head at different angles, but I now use guidelines. I really recommend this if you want to improve on drawing faces symmetrically. I didn't use any references here. This is okay, but I would advise you to first learn from references and look at them before moving on to drawing heads from imagination. You could stay instead of imagination. It's more about what you have in your visual library, and because of this, for your imagination, you should fill your visual library up with references first. Nowadays, I do this exercise of drawing a lineup of a lot of heads in different angles around once a week. And these are the 2 exercises I'm currently doing daily. First we have drawing and constructing poses from references, and then we have drawing portraits or heads from references and sometimes stylizing them. First I take 3 pose references from Pinterest and draw basic bodies from it. I'm not just using outlines and silhouettes, but first constructing them using some basic guides. I also talk about these basic guides in my body tutorial video, mentioning so many other videos in this video. Then I do a similar thing with 3 portrait or head references. I construct the head with guidelines first here as well. You can comment if you want to see a basic head tutorial. I've been planning on doing that for a while now, since I was struggling a lot with heads, and I'm now done with going through many tutorials for it and have figured out a way I like to construct the head with guidelines and also what proportions I want to use. And yeah, sometimes what I'll do after drawing a rather realistic head is I stylize it using the same angle of the head but changing proportions of the facial features. To not have to browse through Pinterest every day and accidentally get caught in looking at Ensemble Stars or Genshin Impact fan art, I put lots of references onto one board and assign some for each day at once. This getting references in batches saves me time. I did all the previous exercises as well as this one in my sketchbook while only drawing. You can also do something in color if that is something you really want to improve on though. I have now also started to shift and doing both the exercises I mentioned last digitally, because for one it uses less resources like paper and pencils, and in case I'm drawing a pose I feel like I want to turn into an illustration, I already have a basic sketch of it. Even if I have to adjust the proportion, this makes it easier than turning a traditional sketch into a digital illustration. I still recommend drawing traditionally from time to time though, just so you don't get too caught up in constantly using Ctrl-Z. This could also be something you can focus on with your daily exercises. I'm currently content with this exercise, since with it I practice my anatomy, form and perspective, and I also get exposed to something new each day. There are also some days where I try to challenge myself to draw using less, more confident lines, to draw very quickly, or to draw shadows in as well. I change my way of drawing up to practice different methods. this way. I also reflect on the drawings every once in a while. For example, around 2 weeks ago, I realized I really struggled with drawing heads that look upwards, so I changed my references so they would have more faces with upwards angles in it. This is what I was pointing out before. Make sure you're staying dynamic even when you're doing an exercise consistently each day. Reflect on what you've done and evaluate your weaknesses to get the most improvement out of daily exercises like this. I hope this video was helpful and I wish you a great day. Goodbye.